The sky above Earth changed forever on a quiet morning. It began with a bright flash, almost like a star falling from the sky. A huge alien ship, gleaming silver and gold, descended slowly into Earth's orbit. It wasn't the first time humans had seen strange things in space, but this was different. The ship was massive, bigger than any human-made spacecraft. It hovered over the Earth, and after a few moments, a clear signal was sent to all the major nations. The message was simple. We come in peace. We seek to understand your world. The message was not unexpected. Earth had been sending signals into space for years, hoping for some kind of answer. But this was something far more than any human could have predicted. The world paused for a moment, holding its breath. Was this the moment humanity had been waiting for? A group of humans from Earth's United Coalition prepared to meet the visitors. The people chosen for the task were the best humanity had to offer: scientists, diplomats, and military leaders. They were the ones who would represent all of Earth in this historic moment. The first contact took place in a specially designed spaceport in a remote area, where the alien ship would land. The humans stood, their eyes fixed on the sky. The ship was so large that it took several minutes for it to completely land. The ground shook as its landing gear touched the Earth's surface. The alien doors opened slowly, and what emerged were creatures unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They were tall, with smooth metallic skin that shimmered in the light. Their faces were calm, their eyes glowing with a soft, otherworldly light. They had no visible mouths, but their voices echoed in the minds of those around them. It was telepathy, a strange feeling that made the humans shiver. "Greetings, Earthlings," the leader of the aliens said in their minds, their voice calm but powerful. "We are the Ceruleans. We have traveled far to meet your kind. We wish to study your world, to understand how you live and how you have survived. Our species comes from a place of peace, and we wish to share that peace with you." The humans listened carefully, but a sense of unease spread among them. The Ceruleans seemed kind, but something felt off. They were too calm, too perfect. They spoke as though they had seen countless civilizations like Earth's before. The humans were eager, of course, but they were also cautious. Their world had seen its share of strange visitors before. Would these aliens be the peaceful allies they claimed to be? Or was there something more to their arrival? As the humans prepared to engage in dialogue with the Ceruleans, they knew one thing for sure: nothing could ever be the same again. Earth was about to learn that survival, in a universe full of advanced species, would not be as simple as it seemed. The tests were about to begin, but no one knew how difficult they would be, or what the true nature of the Ceruleans' visit was. This was just the beginning, and Earth's journey into the unknown had only just begun. The days after the Ceruleans' arrival were filled with excitement and tension. The people of Earth watched as the alien visitors set up their base, a shimmering structure that appeared almost magical. The Ceruleans had made no secret of their advanced technology, and their peaceful nature was clear. They spoke of exploring the stars, of knowledge and understanding. Earth, so used to conflicts and struggles, was eager to learn from these peaceful beings. But soon, the Ceruleans made a surprising request. They asked to conduct a series of tests to see how humans could adapt to different environments. At first, the humans were confused. Why would aliens who claimed to seek peace want to test humanity? But the Ceruleans explained that they had done this with many civilizations across the galaxy. It was not a challenge of war or violence, but rather a way to understand how other species survived in harsh conditions. "We will show you the ways of survival," the Cerulean leader told the humans. "And you will show us how your species endures." The first test would take place in a simulated environment, designed to mimic the coldest planets the Ceruleans had visited. A cold so fierce it could freeze the bones of any living being. They explained that humans, with their weak, fragile bodies, might not be able to survive for long in such an environment. The test began as the humans stepped into the cold chamber. The temperature inside dropped rapidly, becoming colder than anything Earth had ever experienced. The humans, dressed in specially provided suits, began to feel the effects of the freezing air almost immediately. Their breath turned to mist, their bodies shivering uncontrollably. Many began to doubt if they could last, but not all of them. One man, Dr. Michael Harris, a scientist known for his work in extreme environments, quickly took charge. "We can't just wait for this to pass. We need to adapt," he said, his voice steady despite the freezing conditions. He gathered the group and began to use their surroundings. He instructed the others to find any heat sources, no matter how small, and create shelters to protect themselves. He even used parts of their own equipment to build emergency heating devices. The Ceruleans watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. They had expected the humans to break. They had expected the humans to fail. But Dr. Harris and the others worked quickly. Thinking beyond the simple limitations of their suits, they managed to create makeshift shelters using the tools around them. It was not perfect, but it was enough to keep them alive. Hours passed, and the Ceruleans began to realize something shocking. The humans were not giving up. Instead of freezing to death, they were surviving, adapting to a situation that was supposed to be impossible. What the Ceruleans had seen as a test of survival had turned into something far more unexpected. Humans were not just surviving. They were thriving in the face of death. When the test finally ended and the humans returned to the warm safety of their base, the Ceruleans could not hide their surprise. The humans had passed the test, and in doing so, they had proved something the Ceruleans hadn't expected. Humanity was not like any species they had encountered before. Earth was a death world, a planet where survival was a daily struggle, and the humans had learned to thrive in it. The Ceruleans realized then that this test was not just a way to learn about humans. It was about understanding how a species that had been forged in such an unforgiving environment could still stand strong. And this was only the beginning. The success of the cold test had shocked the Ceruleans, but the next trial would be even more difficult. They had chosen to simulate a jungle environment, an environment teeming with deadly predators and dangerous plants. It was a place where only the strongest and most adaptable could survive, and the Ceruleans believed this would finally reveal the true limits of human endurance. The test began early in the morning, with a dense, foggy jungle stretching out before the humans. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of strange creatures echoed from all around. The humans stood at the edge of the simulation, their eyes scanning the thick trees and underbrush. Despite the unease creeping into their minds, they were determined to prove themselves once again. "We've faced worse than this before," Captain Sarah Williams, a seasoned soldier, said, looking at her team. "Stick together, keep calm, and we'll make it through." The Ceruleans had created a world full of dangers: poisonous plants, giant insects, and predatory animals. Every step forward seemed to bring new risks. The humans were given little more than basic survival gear, but Captain Williams immediately took charge, leading her team through the jungle with military precision. The first danger came quickly. A large, venomous snake slithered out from the thick brush, its eyes fixed on the group. One of the younger soldiers, Michael, froze in fear, but Captain Williams quickly moved into action. She didn't panic. Instead, she grabbed a long branch and carefully distracted the snake, guiding it away from the group. Michael, shaking with fear, realized that the soldier next to him had already begun identifying other threats in the jungle. His mind was working, not just his body. The Ceruleans watched with keen interest, but as the humans continued to face the jungle's challenges, they began to grow concerned. The humans were not just surviving. They were learning quickly. They used their surroundings to their advantage, making use of the jungle's resources. They built traps, fashioned spears, and found ways to signal for help using the trees and the sounds of the jungle. Every danger was met with a quick response. But the real test came when the team encountered a massive, six-legged predator. Its enormous claws clacked on the ground as it stalked them from behind a cluster of trees. The Ceruleans had designed this creature to be an unstoppable force. Its thick armor and sharp appendages made it nearly invincible. The humans, however, did not see it as an enemy they couldn't beat. Captain Williams led her team in a coordinated effort, each person taking on a specific task. One soldier distracted the creature by throwing rocks and creating noise, while another worked on a plan to trap it. The team's combined efforts were precise. They knew the jungle, and they used their knowledge to exploit the creature's weaknesses. After a tense few minutes, the humans managed to trap the creature in a pit they had dug, using the terrain to their advantage. The Ceruleans watched with disbelief as the humans, with teamwork and quick thinking, had turned a near-certain death into a victory. When the test ended and the humans returned to their base, the Ceruleans were left in stunned silence. They had never seen a species react so quickly, so decisively. Instead of fleeing from the jungle's dangers, humanity had embraced them, using them to survive. The humans had once again shown that they were not just ordinary beings. They were capable of overcoming the deadliest of challenges. The Ceruleans had learned something they hadn't expected. Humanity, forged on a death world, had learned to survive by mastering its environment, not by hiding from it. As the humans gathered to prepare for the next test, the Ceruleans knew one thing for certain. Earth was not a planet they could easily conquer. After the success in the jungle, the Ceruleans were beginning to realize that humanity was far more than they had anticipated. The humans had proven their strength, their resourcefulness, and their ability to survive in the harshest of environments. But the Ceruleans were not ready to admit defeat just yet. They believed the final test would reveal what humans were truly capable of. This time, the challenge would take place in the vacuum of space. The humans were taken aboard a Cerulean ship, which had been equipped with the latest space travel technology. The Ceruleans explained the rules. They would be dropped off at a distant space station and must complete a series of tasks while enduring the harshness of space. The humans would be provided with basic spacesuits and minimal tools. The Ceruleans believed this would be the ultimate test. Without the help of their advanced technology, humanity would surely fail. As the humans prepared for the test, there was a mixture of excitement and nerves. They had already faced death in the jungles and survived the freezing cold, but space was something else entirely. No atmosphere, no air, just the cold emptiness of space. The idea of venturing into such a dangerous environment was unsettling, but the humans had learned to never back down from a challenge. Captain Sarah Williams, once again in charge, gathered her team. "We've trained for this moment. Stay calm, stay focused, and remember, we are humans. We adapt. We survive." The Ceruleans, standing at a distance, watched with a calm expression, convinced that this would be the end of humanity's impressive run. They activated the airlocks and released the humans into space, where the cold vacuum immediately tried to suck the life from them. The humans quickly donned their spacesuits, and the task began. The first challenge was to repair a malfunctioning communication system on the space station. The Ceruleans had made sure it was a delicate and complex task, one that would take advanced knowledge and tools. The humans, however, didn't have the advantage of advanced Cerulean technology. They had only what they had brought with them: their wits, their training, and their determination. Dr. Michael Harris, the scientist who had led the team in the cold test, immediately got to work. He wasn't intimidated by the lack of proper tools. Instead, he began to think outside the box. Using the limited equipment they had, he was able to improvise a solution. Within minutes, the communication system was back online. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. The Ceruleans stared in disbelief as the humans solved the problem with little more than a few makeshift repairs. Next, the humans were tasked with navigating the space station to retrieve important data from an advanced server room. The journey was treacherous, as the gravity on the station was weak, and every movement had to be carefully controlled to avoid floating off into the vastness of space. The Ceruleans had expected the humans to struggle with the low gravity, but they were wrong. The humans adapted quickly. They used ropes, harnesses, and even the walls of the station to guide themselves through the zero-gravity environment. They moved with a purpose, their teamwork shining through. By the time the humans had completed the tasks and returned to the Cerulean ship, the aliens were no longer watching with the same smug confidence they had started with. The humans had once again exceeded expectations. They hadn't just survived space, they had thrived in it, proving their adaptability and ingenuity. The Ceruleans were stunned. They had hoped that space would be the one place where humanity would fail, but instead, it had become another stage for their relentless survival. The humans had taken a harsh, unforgiving environment and bent it to their will. In the cold vacuum of space, humanity had shown once again that they were not to be underestimated. The success of the humans in the space test left the Ceruleans shaken. They had watched as humanity overcame challenge after challenge, each more difficult than the last. What they had originally thought would be impossible for Earthlings, the humans had made look easy. It was clear now that Earth was not a planet they could conquer or simply observe. But among the Ceruleans, a new fear began to take root, a fear of humanity's potential. Not all of the Ceruleans were pleased with the success of the tests. A faction of the alien leadership, one that had grown increasingly concerned about the humans' capabilities, began to fear what Earth's survival skills could mean for the galaxy. Their plan was simple. If they could not defeat humanity through traditional means, they would sabotage the tests and ensure that the humans failed in the final trials. They believed that if they pushed the humans to their breaking point, they would be exposed as weak and unworthy of the Ceruleans' trust. The leaders of this faction worked in secrecy. They began to alter the conditions of the upcoming test, adjusting the difficulty of the environments, manipulating the data, and even secretly tampering with the equipment the humans would use. They had no intention of letting humanity succeed. They wanted to show that, despite all the humans' resilience, they were no match for the advanced civilizations of the galaxy. But what the Cerulean faction didn't realize was that they were not dealing with ordinary humans. The humans had already proven time and time again that they could survive, adapt, and think their way out of impossible situations. Their survival instinct was something the Ceruleans had underestimated, and it was about to become their greatest mistake. The next test would be the most dangerous yet, an artificial intelligence designed to calculate and adapt to any human movement. It would be an opponent that could outthink and outmaneuver them at every turn. The Ceruleans believed this AI would be the end of the humans, certain that no human could outsmart a machine that was built to learn and predict their every move. When the humans arrived for the test, they were given little information about the AI's capabilities. It was a challenge unlike any they had faced before. No environment to survive, no jungle to navigate, no cold to endure. This time, the challenge was a mental one. They would be locked in a virtual space with the AI, and every wrong move would mean failure. As the test began, the AI's cold, logical voice filled their minds. "I am the calculating mind that knows no fear. I will predict your every action." But the humans weren't intimidated. They knew how to think under pressure. Captain Sarah Williams and Dr. Michael Harris immediately took charge, using their combined knowledge to work together. But the AI was relentless. It adapted to every move they made, countering their plans faster than they could think. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans refused to give up. They began to notice patterns in the AI's behavior. They used their creativity and outside-the-box thinking to manipulate the virtual environment, creating distractions and planting false data to confuse the AI. As the challenge went on, the humans worked together, pushing the limits of their knowledge and teamwork. They used the AI's own strategies against it, turning its predictability into a weakness. But the Cerulean faction had been watching from the shadows. As the humans grew closer to winning, they decided to intervene. They activated hidden systems within the test, making it more difficult, adding complications that weren't originally part of the challenge. They believed that this would be the final straw that broke the human spirit. What they didn't account for was that the humans had already adapted. They realized something was wrong. They knew the AI was no longer behaving as it should. The humans quickly deduced that someone had tampered with the test. Instead of becoming discouraged, they pushed harder, determined to expose the truth. They managed to bypass the hidden systems and complete the test, proving that even when the odds were stacked against them, they could still win. The Ceruleans, watching from their control room, were stunned. The humans had not only defeated the AI, but had also uncovered the betrayal. They had outsmarted the Ceruleans once again, showing the aliens that no matter what they threw at them, humanity could endure and find a way to triumph. After the betrayal in the AI test, the Ceruleans were forced to rethink their entire approach. The humans had not only survived, but had exposed the tampering. The shock of the humans' ability to think through every obstacle, even one created by their own supposed allies, left the Ceruleans uncertain. It was clear now that Earth was a planet full of survivors, individuals who could never be underestimated. For the Ceruleans, this failure had become something deeper. What had begun as a test of strength and endurance had now turned into something else. The humans weren't just surviving. They were evolving, adapting, and learning to fight back in ways that the Ceruleans hadn't predicted. The fear of humanity was beginning to spread through their ranks. Unknown to the humans, the faction that had manipulated the tests was now plotting its next move. It wasn't just about the trials anymore. It was about controlling Earth before humanity could turn the tables. The Ceruleans knew their advanced technology and strength could crush any planet, but Earth was unlike any other. They had learned that Earth's people did not just adapt, they fought. And fighting against humans could bring more chaos than they were willing to face. At the same time, the humans on Earth began to notice strange things. Communications from the Ceruleans became distant, less frequent. The alien visitors, once so open and willing to share knowledge, now seemed more secretive. The humans were left in the dark, unsure of what was really happening. As months passed, Captain Sarah Williams and Dr. Michael Harris began to piece together troubling information. The tests, which had started as a way to understand humanity, now seemed to have another purpose. The humans had always suspected that the Ceruleans were hiding something, but now they had proof. There were whispers from the few humans who had been in contact with the Ceruleans, reports of hidden meetings and strange shifts in behavior. The humans realized the true nature of the Cerulean plans was not peace, but control. One night, as Captain Williams sat in her office, a message came through, a message that had been intercepted. It was a secret transmission from the Ceruleans, discussing plans to enslave humanity by manipulating Earth's resources. They planned to use the humans' survival instincts against them, to trap them in a situation where they would have no choice but to obey. The message was clear. Earth was to be stripped of its valuable resources, and humanity would be forced into servitude. The Ceruleans had never intended to peacefully coexist with the humans. They had been watching and testing them all along to see how much they could push before humanity would submit. Captain Williams immediately alerted Dr. Harris and the others. Together, they formed a plan. They knew they couldn't let the Ceruleans control Earth. The humans had learned too much about the Ceruleans' weaknesses to let this go unnoticed. But they were also aware that they were outmatched technologically. The Cerulean ships, their weapons, their speed, all were far beyond what humanity had. However, there was one thing the Ceruleans had failed to consider: human unity. Across the world, people began to rally, inspired by the leadership of the humans who had survived the tests. It was no longer just a matter of defending themselves. It was a matter of fighting for their freedom, their planet. Earth's leaders, scientists, and military forces all began to work together, sharing knowledge and resources. The humans knew that they had to strike before the Ceruleans could put their plan into motion. It would be a desperate fight, but Earth was a death world, a place where survival meant doing. The humans had learned the truth about the Ceruleans' betrayal, and now they were ready to fight back. The world had changed in the last few weeks. The people of Earth, once divided by borders and differences, had come together with a single purpose: to protect their home from the alien threat. Captain Sarah Williams, Dr. Michael Harris, and the others who had survived the tests knew that this was their moment to act. They couldn't afford to wait any longer. It was time to strike. The first step was to gather their resources. The humans had been secretly preparing for this moment ever since they uncovered the Ceruleans' plan. Across the globe, nations began to share their knowledge, technologies, and weapons in a way they never had before. The fear of the Ceruleans brought humanity together in a way nothing else could. They knew that their survival depended on working as one. Dr. Harris led the charge on the technological front. Using the knowledge they had gained from their interactions with the Ceruleans, he and his team began to develop weapons that could take on the advanced alien technology. They had learned about the Ceruleans' energy shields, their weapons, and their ships. With that information, they began creating countermeasures, energy disruptors, pulse weapons, and even small EMP devices designed to temporarily disable Cerulean technology. Meanwhile, Captain Williams worked with the military to plan a series of strategic attacks. The Ceruleans had underestimated human ingenuity, and now they would face the consequences. It wasn't just about brute force. It was about using their knowledge of survival to outsmart the Ceruleans at every turn. Earth was a death world, and the humans would use that to their advantage. The first attack came in the form of a surprise ambush. A Cerulean fleet was stationed above a remote region of Earth, gathering resources in secret. The humans had tracked their movements, and when the time was right, they launched an assault. Using the EMP devices they had developed, the humans disabled the Ceruleans' energy shields and weapons, catching them off guard. It was a small victory, but it sent a clear message: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. The Ceruleans were shocked by the attack. They had believed that their advanced technology would make them invincible. They hadn't counted on humans thinking like survivors, using their resourcefulness to turn the tables. As the humans began to push forward, the Ceruleans were forced to regroup. But it was too late. The humans had tasted victory, and they were hungry for more. In the following weeks, humanity launched wave after wave of calculated strikes. They targeted Cerulean supply lines, energy sources, and communications hubs, crippling the alien invaders at every turn. The Ceruleans tried to retaliate, but they couldn't keep up with the humans' relentless spirit. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. What the Ceruleans had once thought of as a weak, fragile species was now a force to be reckoned with. However, the Ceruleans weren't ready to admit defeat. They had one last weapon in their arsenal, a massive warship, the size of a small moon, equipped with enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. The humans knew that this ship could end everything. If the Ceruleans unleashed it, Earth would be gone. Captain Williams and Dr. Harris knew the final battle was coming. They had to stop the warship before it was too late. Together with the world's military forces, they planned a daring assault on the Cerulean flagship. It would be the most dangerous mission they had ever undertaken, but it was their last chance to save Earth. Captain Sarah Williams stood on the bridge of the human command ship, gazing at the vast expanse of space. In the distance, the massive Cerulean warship loomed, its shadow stretching across the stars. The ship was a symbol of the Ceruleans' arrogance, a tool meant to destroy Earth in a single deadly strike. But what the Ceruleans didn't realize was that this time, they were facing a different kind of enemy. This wasn't just about technology. This wasn't just about strength or firepower. This was about survival, the instinct that had been burned into humanity's DNA on their death world. The humans had faced death, hardship, and betrayal. And now they would use all of that to take down the Ceruleans once and for all. "We have one shot at this," Captain Williams said, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying the weight of the moment. "We take out their core systems, disable their weapons, and board the warship. We end this here and now." Dr. Michael Harris, who had been working tirelessly to create the final weapon, stood beside her. "The EMP device we developed should be strong enough to disable their shields temporarily. But we'll only have a short window of time. Once we fire, we have to move quickly. Around them, soldiers, engineers, and strategists checked their equipment and prepared for what would likely be a one-way mission. But none of them hesitated. Humanity had already proven itself against the Ceruleans, and now they would finish what had started with the tests. They had already shown their resilience. Now they would show their resolve. As they approached the Cerulean warship, the humans launched a series of decoy drones to distract the ship's defense systems. The Ceruleans, too confident in their technology, responded quickly, sending out fighters to intercept the drones. The humans used the distraction to close the distance, hiding in the chaos and preparing for their final strike. When the moment came, Dr. Harris activated the EMP device. A pulse of energy shot out, striking the Cerulean warship and temporarily knocking out its shields. The warship staggered, its defenses flickering. It was a small window of opportunity, but it was all the humans needed. Captain Williams barked the order. All ships, engage. Human ships opened fire, targeting weak points in the Cerulean warship's armor. The massive vessel trembled under the barrage, but the true goal was to make a path to the heart of the ship, the central control room where the Cerulean commanders were located. The humans' plan was simple: board the warship, take out the leadership, and bring down the ship from the inside. The humans fought their way aboard, battling through Cerulean soldiers in zero-gravity hallways, using everything they had learned from their trials. They worked as one, communicating silently, moving in perfect synchronization. Every soldier knew their role. Every engineer knew their task. The Ceruleans had underestimated human unity, and now they would feel the consequences. As they reached the control room, Captain Williams and Dr. Harris led the charge. The Cerulean commanders, watching from their massive chairs, looked up in surprise. They had assumed that humanity would fold under the pressure, but the humans were not here to surrender. With swift precision, the humans disabled the control systems and took control of the warship's engines. It was a risk. They had no idea how long it would take for the Ceruleans to regain control, but they had no choice. The warship began to drift, its power slowly draining away. "Now we end this," Captain Williams said, her voice cold with determination. The human forces planted explosive charges in critical areas of the warship, setting them to go off in mere minutes. There was no time to waste. They made their way back to their ships, narrowly avoiding the last desperate attempts by the Ceruleans to fight back. The explosion of the Cerulean warship had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time, an alien empire, far more advanced than anything Earth had ever known, had been defeated by the humans. The Ceruleans were stunned, unable to fully comprehend how a species they had deemed weak had managed to stand up to them and win. Back on Earth, the victory was met with a mix of relief, disbelief, and pride. Humanity had not only survived the trials set by the Ceruleans, but had turned the tables on their would-be conquerors. News of the humans' victory spread quickly across the globe, uniting nations in a way nothing else had before. The realization that Earth had defeated the Ceruleans brought a sense of hope to the people, knowing that if they could survive this, they could survive anything. Captain Sarah Williams, though proud of the victory, was not one to celebrate for long. The battle was won, but the war was not over. The Ceruleans had powerful allies, and there was no telling what their next move would be. They had learned the hard way that humanity was not to be underestimated. But would that be enough to deter the aliens from launching another attack? In the aftermath of the battle, the leaders of Earth gathered in a global summit. Captain Williams, Dr. Michael Harris, and other key figures in the resistance were present, their faces still marked with the weariness of battle. The summit was a turning point. It was time to plan the future, not just of Earth, but of humanity's place in the universe. "We've proven ourselves," Dr. Harris said, standing before the gathered leaders. "But this is just the beginning. The Ceruleans were only the first challenge we faced. There are others out there, and they'll be watching to see how we react." Captain Williams nodded in agreement, We can't afford to be complacent. We need to prepare, to learn from everything we've been through. We've shown that we can survive, but now we need to show that we can thrive in this new dangerous world. The leaders of Earth listened carefully, knowing that the stakes had never been higher. Earth was no longer isolated, no longer a small, distant planet in the vastness of the galaxy. The human race had proven that it could stand toe-to-toe with the most advanced civilizations, and now they had to figure out how to use that strength to their advantage. There were discussions about alliances, about learning from other races, and about building up Earth's defenses. But above all, there was a shared understanding that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its technology or its weapons. It was its will to survive, to fight, and to never give up, no matter the odds. In the weeks that followed, the humans began to rebuild. They reclaimed the territories that had been affected by the Cerulean invasion, repaired their cities, and reinforced their military forces. But there was something more than just rebuilding. There was a sense of unity that had never existed before. The humans had faced their greatest trial and had emerged victorious, not because of their strength alone, but because they had worked together. The universe had just learned what it meant to face a Deathworlder. The Ceruleans had learned that the humans could not be easily defeated, that their will to survive was unmatched. And as the stars stretched out before them, Captain Williams knew that Earth's future had changed forever. Humanity had won the war for now, but the fight for their place in the galaxy was just beginning. They were no longer just survivors. They were warriors, and they were ready for whatever came next.